Today we have a special episode of Enterprise Tech Spotlight because of the recent announcement from IBM regarding their flash storage systems. Hi, my name is Keith Hales, and I am the COO here at Infosystems, and I'm the host of the Enterprise Tech Spotlight. Thank you for joining us today. We have a special guest. His name is Tony Owens, and he is a Senior Solutions Architect at one of our partners, Aero Electronics. So, Tony, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Keith.
Absolutely. I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule. I know you've been traveling a lot.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah. So I think one of the reasons you've been traveling and you've been in such high demand recently is because IBM has changed one of their key product lines in the storage area. And they're changing everything, as I understand it, to this IBM FlashSystem. Is that correct?
That's correct. So they did an announcement on February 11th, and basically, while IBM, they did a product announcement, we kind of refer to it as somewhat of a rebranding. So the Storewise family, which has typically been used in the SMB and mid-market space, and some even enterprise customers, basically they've made an investment in the FlashSystem family. So they're basically kind of renaming all of the Storewise family into the FlashSystem. So it'll simplify the messaging, make it a little easier for customers. It's been the same software and the same product line all along, but now it's kind of just one name set along the way.
Okay, so take a step back. So the Storewise system is what a lot of the smaller companies,
correct,
and even some medium and even some large companies buy Storewise.
Absolutely.
As well. But it is I'll call it a mid-grade storage system or solution.
Well, I would never call it really a mid-grade. And the reason I wouldn't call it a mid-grade is because when IBM really decided to build their own storage system, for a long time they had been rebranding other people's products. When they decided that they were going to truly go after that SMB market space and stuff, what they did was they took the SVC technology, the Spectrum Virtualized technology, and built the storage system around it. So it was a fully enterprise-grade software stack, and they built the hardware to go with it. And then as part of that, several years ago, they acquired Texas Memory Systems, which was the whole basis of the Flash system. So they got a lot of technology in and around Flash, which really kind of leapfrogged everybody else and jump-started them really into that Flash system space of the low latency, high performance side. And by very nature, because the Storewise line was using the same software, it just made more sense to kind of simplify the naming into the Flash system family.
Okay. So we've spent a previous podcast, had Robert Goodwin, who I know that you know, come and talk about storage. So if somebody has questions kind of at a generic level about storage, they certainly can listen to that podcast. But as it relates specifically to the Flash system and the renaming and the relaunch, I guess, what's new? What's different? I mean, usually whenever a large manufacturer like an IBM makes one of these announcements, there's something more than just rebranding. So what's really going on kind of behind the covers? So
there are a couple of things. So number one is you've got this new generation of Flash really coming in the marketplace called storage class memory. So there's a big push, and that's the very high performance, low latency. It's above anything what we've been using in the past. So the systems that are able to take advantage of that and leverage that. IBM also has a couple of new models, and basically along the way, we had the Storewise V7000. Now we have the Flash System 7200. The new 7200 has more processor, more beef into it. Again, designed to deliver that little bit more performance. Now, one of the things that IBM has done in this announcement, one of the other ones was the 9200. So they kind of consolidated down a couple of the Flash systems they had, the 9110 and the 9150, to the 9200, but they also have a 9200R. Because as you know, Keith, there are some customers out there that literally won't buy anything that doesn't come in its own rack. And so the 9200R is designed to cover that, and it's got the top of rack switches. It's got the ability to expand inside of it as well. But some of the other advancements that have come along with that, of course, is, there's faster performance, bigger processors, really moving into that next generation of where we're headed, which is more and more things keep driving to, I need faster performance, lower latency, and how am I getting there? And so the Flash system is really geared at directing towards that. One of the big benefits, I think, of the announcement is the simplifying of the licensing. So before we had different systems had different licensing models. Oh, do I want flash copy? Do I want replication? Pretty much all the flash system family now is pretty much all inclusive. The only thing, for those systems that can do external, that's a separate license. And of course, encryption is still a license because Uncle Sam wants to know who's encrypting their systems.
Okay. So let me take a step back and restate what I think I heard you say, which is that as these new announcements have come out, they are changing the product some to align under this new brand. So the StoreWise, it sounds like, is going away, but Flash Systems is going forward. But those products are just being iterated into a new version, because I think one other point is around there's higher value, because if all those software applications and all those software management tools are now included, there's a lot of value in there, and people who aren't, I'll say, familiar with all the nuance of what you just said, they may brush past that. So there's a ton of value in the software systems that lay on top of those storage environments, and I kind of want you to speak to some of that if you can.
Yeah, and well, a couple things. One of the key factors I think that's really important for customers is that in that simplification and in the simplifying of the licensing, it also ends up being cheaper. I mean, we see the 7200 system, for example, being about 10 to 12% cheaper than the V7 was. So there's a cost savings in that in itself. And then when you look at customers who maybe have virtualized their environment with SVC previously, because of the storage class memory, that takes that top tier pricing structure in that tiering approach of the licensing. So now for customers who've had flash and spinning drives and nearline drives, everything kind of gets bumped down, which means to them, hey, all of a sudden, I've got more free SVC licensing that I can use for adding in more storage. So it gives us a great opportunity for customers who are, the one thing that never happens, we never delete data. So data is always growing. So the ability to say, hey, I've got some more licensing now that I can take advantage of. I can add some more storage without really adding more cost to my software side. All goodness. And the fact that all the software is included with the system is always great too.
Yeah, because that really is, I think, a huge value add, because if a customer has chosen to virtualize, you call it SVC, now Spectrum Virtualize is the current name. But if a customer has chosen to virtualize their storage environment and they buy one of these flash systems and that virtualization software is already included, then they get to leverage that investment they've already made somewhere else, and they're not double paying.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which is huge.
Yeah.
Kind of protecting that investment.
Well, and I think that's some of it too. So, one of the other questions you mentioned, like the StoreWise is kind of going away and it's moving to the flash system. Well, one of the concerns that a lot of customers will have, well, what if I want to expand one of my existing systems and stuff? Or what if I want to cluster it? Will it be able to cluster? Yes. Everything, the interoperability that was there before is still there. So, the V7000 will be able to cluster with a Flash System 7200 and stuff. There won't be any problem with that, or replication between them or anything like that.
That's actually what my very next question was. I don't know if you read ahead on my notes or not, but the question is, for many of our clients, and I'm assuming this is true across the board, is the V7, the V5000 series, the V7000 series, V9000, they are happy with these current iterations of the previous iteration, now the new announcement. So can they still buy, and will they still be protected moving forward, or are they going to be forced to kind of rip and replace?
No, so you'll be able to get, when IBM announces an end of marketing, you have a certain period of time, and I think most of the systems out there, I think you'll still be able to get some, depending on which model you're talking about and stuff, I think November is kind of the time frame of the last orders of those particular things. But as far as the expansions, for example, a V7 expansion that you have on your V7 today would work with a Flash System 7200. It's the same expansion in the back end, and the connectivity for that piece of it's the same and stuff. It's the controller itself where the real highlights happen, and that's the more processor and capabilities and a lot of the NVMe technology and things like that we could dive deeper into and have billions of conversations about all the stuff that's inside. But from a customer's perspective, it's the investment protection and the ability to continue to leverage what they already have.
Okay, so there's no need to rip and replace with this. They're actually getting a higher value because the virtualized SVC license.
Right.
So kind of at a high level, and maybe at a more strategic level, why make this change? I mean, I've always thought the StoreWatch product line is pretty solid, and I think they've incrementally been making changes and actually been reducing the price to the market. So why make this major shift?
We'll be back with the Enterprise Tech Spotlight podcast after we pause for this special message. Have your IT projects created stress on your team over the last few years? More than half of IT professionals say they are burned out at work. IT departments are under constant pressure to keep systems running while completing IT projects on time and under budget. And they often report that they're understaffed and underfunded. Infosystems is now offering free IT project review sessions. Kick off your 2020 IT projects the right way. If you're planning or considering some type of IT project, software, networks, servers, storage, phones, and want to get an unbiased and accurate understanding of the skills, time, and cost required to make it happen, this is the perfect first step to take. Our expert project team will help make sure you don't miss important details, waste money, or overestimate your capabilities. Visit the Infosystems website at www.infosystems.biz to request your IT project review. Now back to the podcast.
Well, I think when you look at where the market's headed in general, when you look at what's going on, everybody's focused on the flash side of things and stuff. And when you look at the reports from Gartner and other vendors like that, everybody's measuring things at the flash level and stuff. So I think it's just a consolidation of the messaging and a simplification of the messaging that's out there. So, when you look at other vendors, for example, and I'm not going to pick on any of them, but when you look at their portfolio, there may be 5 products of this one, 5 different products within this space, and there may be 2 over here and 3 over there. And which one do I pick? This is really saying from IBM, the answer is a flash system. It's just which model of a flash system do you need to meet your performance needs?
So I'm going to ask a question that we've talked about before. So when you say flash system, does it have to be flash drives?
No.
So the actual hard drive itself, flash is a description of the hard drive that's going on.
Correct.
So you can have, spinning disks, you can have, solid state drives and the other.
Correct. So the from the 5010 model all the way up to the 7200 model, those are complete. They can be all flash or they can be hybrid systems. They can have the nearline drives in them and all that. And let's obviously not forget, Spectrum Virtualized can run in the cloud as well. So you can actually, have it in Amazon or IBM Cloud using their storage behind IBM software. So,
okay. So if I have a need for an application, it's running fine today on just spinning disk hard drives, on 10K drives, let's say, for example.
Okay.
It's running fine today, and that's not my bottleneck. There's an issue somewhere else, let's say, or I have no issues with performance. I'm not going to be forced to have to buy the more expensive flash if I choose to continue to buy the spinning disk hard drives.
Correct. So the difference is as you look, especially in the higher end systems, the ones that have NVMe built into them, obviously the spinning drives don't support that. So for those control enclosures, it has to be some type of flash to give the NVMe connectivity. But as far as the expansions and things like that, yes, they can support the spinning drives, the 10K, the 15K, and the 7200 RPM nearline drives.
Okay, so it's not which is a great clarification, right? Because you say flash system, oh my goodness, am I going to have to buy? I'll say take the approach that some other vendors are taking, that it's only going to be flash, and that's not the case here.
Well, but I will point this out. If you're looking at investing and you're looking at buying a system today, one of the things that when we saw the entry 5000 systems come out, the 15K drives didn't even get certified in the system anymore because the price point for those, it didn't make sense anymore. You could buy the SSDs cheaper than you could buy the 15K drives. Will we see that trend continue? Probably. At some point, the curve will happen where the 10K drives, the value will not be there for those as well. 7200, obviously, those are, the nearline SAS drives, those are going to have a lot longer lifespan because they're a lot larger capacity. But even with that, we have SSDs and flash core modules today that are 38 terabyte drives and stuff. So that curve will hit at some point. And with the advancements that are in the chips, compression and capabilities like that, that cost factor is where you have to do it. And obviously that's where business partners like you help the customers the most, understanding where is the value and what is the right one to buy from what I'm trying to accomplish.
Yeah. So I'm going to try to take that up a higher level, because one of the hopefully as customers and prospects and people that are evaluating these systems take a look at the price points, that they are working with a partner who can help them say, hey, you really can be just fine with some of those 7200 slower drives, which are generally cheaper.
Right.
Generally, you can put more data on them with a mix of some flash and some higher speed hard drives. And then that's probably going to get the performance out of them, as opposed to just being, I'll say, just buying all flash, because sometimes that's not required because their bottleneck may be somewhere else. And so that's where a partner and someone helping, someone like you come in,
right,
help us, and we jointly help the customer evaluate that solution. You've already addressed pricing. You've already addressed whether or not these things are going away. So one final question is, what are the hidden gems? Like, what did the average consumer, when this announcement was made, what did they miss? Like, what was something that maybe even wasn't highlighted in the press release, or that a partner like us might miss over when we first read this announcement? What are some things that are going to impact the customer down the road?
So there's a couple things that I see, and it wasn't necessarily just in this release, but it's in our systems in general, which is things like ISER. So
what's ISER?
Typically, a lot of customers who are buying in that space, they're not attaching via fiber channel. They're attaching via Ethernet. And they're typically using older iSCSI technology and stuff like that. ISER is that next turn of the crank, if you will, to do very high performance, robust speeds, very low latency. But IBM was the only vendor that actually incorporated that into their storage. Nobody else did. So that ability to take that next step of really driving that Ethernet side of workloads, which is about 60% of the marketplace today, can really have an impact in how, what customers do and what they look at for their next thing. Some of the things that might have been missed or not highlighted enough for customers was 3-site replication, the ability to have 3 locations. Now, obviously that's for bigger customers, but in this stage of cyber resiliency and keeping air gapping and protecting of your data, and especially if you're down in the East Coast area and hurricanes, and I think there were some earthquakes here recently along the Tennessee and North Carolina. So any of these type of things, setting up these different things, protection schemes, that 3-site replication is kind of a critical factor and stuff.
So I'm going to pause you, because it sounds like they are continuing to invest. While I understand the renaming and kind of the realignment of the product set, it sounds like they're also putting in some future-looking features into this rollout.
Absolutely, and the roadmap is actually very strong. So that's one of the things that, obviously, if a customer is interested, we can have a roadmap discussion with them to take them through not only where we're at today, but what are some of the future things that IBM is planning and stuff. So there's a lot of investment. Spectrum Virtualized has been around since 2003, so it's been around for a long time. I was involved with it at the very beginning and stuff, and I've been happy to see that IBM's continued to invest in it and grow that technology. And now, of course, bundling it with the flash technology just gives you the best of both worlds.
Well, there's probably a lot more we could talk about.
Oh, yes.
But I think we've reached a good stopping point. So I want to thank everybody for joining us for the Enterprise Technology Spotlight podcast series, where we try to take these technology topics and help educate business people on what they mean. I know today's session was a little bit more technical, but sometimes we've got to get to a deeper dive so that we can talk about the value that it brings to the organization. So thank you for joining us, and we look forward to you joining us for the next session, in which I'm actually going to be asking Tony some questions about artificial intelligence and what that means to businesses. So thanks for joining us, and look forward to you joining us next time.